So welcome everyone. For those of you joining us in Facebook land, hey. We are coming to you live with a new guest today, and I'm gonna let Bernice introduce herself here in a second, but I wanna do a little bit of job just explaining her background. She has been in real estate what seems like forever and has a wealth of knowledge in thousands of transactions to be able, and so many resources that they literally had to list out for me some of the things that we could talk about because it's just so vast in ability. We were having a good conversation about e-learning just a minute ago. But all of you that are out there in Facebook land, you can comment below and ask any question that you want while we're live. Now, because we monitor this channel and we're doing it live, even afterwards, you'll be able to watch the replay over and over and ask any follow-up questions you have below. And our team will always come back and answer those questions. And if it's a question specifically Bernice, we'll go get the answer from her if we need to, and we'll get it posted below. So I'm coming to you from Apollo Beach, hence the background and the ocean behind me, and trying to do this virtually, which is what we're all set up for nowadays, right? And more so ever than before. And I want to welcome our guest, Bernice, and let her tell you a little bit more about herself.
I'll keep this brief. I've been in the business for a very long time, as Robert mentioned. Was a top producing agent for 20 years, ran the training program for John Douglas Company back in the 90s, where we had the top production per agent in the United States. Beverly Hills, Brentwood, Bel Air, 50 to 70% market share. We were doing $1 billion a month. $1 billion a month in sales in the 1990s. So, wow. I mean, yeah, so we, you know, big market share there. Went on to start my own company, Real Estate Coach, back in the late 90s. I've been writing for Inman News since 2001. I'm the most read columnist in the real estate industry for agents and brokers. So I have some ideas that I would like to share with your audience, your investors. I cut my teeth doing investments initially. So, you know, let's get to some of the things that might be helpful for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we wanted to have you on, right? You have such a vast amount of knowledge that is so helpful and so many different resources that can help different people that are in different places within our audience. So I'd love to, the first thing that I see on here, which is your down payment resource that's great for renters that want to become homeowners. And I know that some of our audience primarily focuses on that niche, right? I have a couple friends in particular, that's all they do is buy, and they don't flip, but their whole portfolio is selling to rentals that want to be homeowners. So like lease to own and that type of stuff, depending on what market you're in. So why don't you talk a little bit more about that and what kind of helpful things and ideas you have there?
Well, first of all, downpaymentresource.com won the Innovator of the Year award for Inman News back in 2011, but most people don't know about it. And what it does, again, that's downpaymentresource.com, is it aggregates all the down payment assistance programs that are available for specific properties. And Robert, what most people don't know is 84% of the homes in the United States qualify for down payment assistance. And this can be in the form of a reduction in interest rate. You know, everybody knows about VA and FHA loans, but it can also be grants, and this is literally free money. And it's not just limited to first-time buyers. 40% of their products are for people who are buying a second time. So the average in 2019, the average amount of down payment assistance from downpaymentresource.com was $13,000. Wow. So you want to talk about getting somebody into a home, $13,000 can go a long way. And some of these things, as I said before, are, you know, they're grants. So there is some free money. That's, you know, that's a small portion, maybe, you know, 5 or 7%. But I know these other things, they have interest rate buy down. Sometimes you can, you know, you'll get this loan, but then if you stay in the home for 5 years, you don't have, you know, you don't have to pay it off. So there's a tremendous wealth of resources. And what's interesting, let's say that I have a teacher and I have somebody who's ex-military and they're married. The teacher can probably find a program, so can firefighters, police officers, you know, public people are in the public service sector. And then also the, you know, that person's in the military, there are programs for them. So they could put 2 different programs together and layer them. There was somebody up in Seattle who was putting 3 or 4 5 programs together to get people into, you know, houses that are 700 to $1 million. So that's rare, but it is a possibility. So it really does cover all price ranges. And if you're local, if you're, you'll want to find somebody who, in terms of a lender who's familiar with working with this, but this stuff is golden, absolutely golden. Can't say enough good things about it.
Yeah, that's actually an amazing resource. I wish I would have known about that before myself. That was we used to do a lot of rental properties in the beginning of my real estate career, so that would have been extremely helpful to have access to something like that. Just in putting them in and helping them out, which is really what we're all here for, right? How can we not only help our customers and our audience being the investors, but how we help them best is making it easier for them to serve their clients like that and making more resources and options available to them.
Well, you know, Robert, it strikes me if you've got somebody who's interested in doing a lease to own deal, you know, what they can do, you know, again, I'm not an expert on how to structure these, but if you're in that part of the business, it's out there, and, you know, they make payments for about 2 or 3 years. And then when they get to the point where they have that 10% amount of equity, you know, then you could help them with, you know, say, hey, check this out because you've got that history of rentals, but then DPR would be a good, you know, a good choice for them for that as well. So something to think, you know, keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really good information. So I'm going to bounce around because you have so many different areas that you can go into, and whoever our audience is today, we're going to find which part of those want to ask some questions. And again, anything you hear us talking about that you have a further question on, go ahead and just type it in. My team is going to feed those over to me. So if I get any of the questions while they're coming in live, we'll make sure to get those answered while we continue to talk through some of the stuff here. So one of the other things that I am interested in hearing more about, which I think helps an even broader scope of our audience, is related to your, they call it iBuyer resources, but I'm very intrigued on this. I'm familiar with new home builders that have done this to help buy out the other house and to help them move into the house. But in some of the information that was provided to me, you've given examples in here on how that could even help a flipper who's trying to help a person be able to get into a house too. So I'm very intrigued to hear how those resources you have available, or explain that a little bit.
What's interesting, you know, everybody thinks of the iBuyers as being someone like a Zillow or one of the other companies, Open Door, that come in and buy a house, and then you've got the brokers that are doing it, and agents are advertising all of this. But there's another distinct part of the market that's just started to emerge, and the examples, 3 examples, are HomeLight. That's HOMELIGHT, HomeLight. Fly, FLY, Fly Homes. I believe Divvy Homes, DIVV as in Victor, DIVVY, Divvy Homes, I believe that's a third one, but definitely HomeLight and Fly Homes have this model. And what they do, Robert, is that so say that you want to buy a house, you know, but you need to sell your house. So they take care of the contingent sale problem. So what they'll do, and where they're making their money, here's the play, they want to get the mortgage business. That's the bottom line. They want the mortgage business. That's where the money is. For broker owners, you know, for title, the margins are so thin with the agents in terms of brokerage, they're just not getting that much. But what you can do here is you want to be sure to, you know, you can see what the homeowner does. They qualify, let's say they're doing the HomeLight program. So they qualify to get a mortgage on their next home. They know exactly how much that mortgage is going to be. Then they can go out and buy that. They'll be able to buy that house. And because the iBuyer company has pre-approved them, they will grant, you know, they'll do the loan. So they'll close the deal. In the meantime, the iBuyer purchases their existing home. They get to move into their new home on their schedule. And then the iBuyer company comes in, fixes up the home, and sells it. And by the way, I believe both models, Fly Homes and HomeLight, I'm not certain about the third one, I know for sure HomeLight does this, is that if they get over the price that they told the owner of the previous home that they would get, that, you know, that owner gets to keep it. So it's kind of a very interesting model, and it's the one that the builders are using. So they're connected with these different with these different companies that do this. But this is available to actual homeowners again Fly Homes, Homelight, and Divi Homes. They're different versions. Check them out online to see if they're apropos for you or for your clients.
Yeah, and just to add more to that, even for those of you that flip houses, you know, take those. I'm sure some of you are taking notes, right? Those are the type of things that you could go and emulate and model something like that in your own business, right? That's a brilliant idea. You're solving the problem for the homeowner. You're selling the house that you want. And the way I heard it, you're actually getting a 2-for-1. And Homelight and them, I'm certain that's what they're doing, right? They're almost guaranteeing by buying and doing the work. Now they've created another mortgage out of one prospect. That one prospect turned into 2 mortgages. In your case, you said that's what they're most interested in, is it? And that makes total sense, right? Now, that's a way for you to not only find houses and flip them, but in every flip opportunity you have, if you create the opportunity in your flips to take care of the problem, you're finding another property in the example. So you're actually getting more profit per dollar spent by solving more problems for more people. I love Zig Ziglar. I think it was Zig Ziglar or Jim Rohn, one of the two, that said it best, right? The more value you add to the marketplace is more return that comes to you, or help enough other people get what they want, and you'll ultimately get what you want. That's a golden nugget. That's a really, really good idea. I actually need to share that as an idea with our team, because we just started doing some flips again in Tampa. And I'm gonna have them come back and watch this part of the show, because I didn't think about that before. That's actually a really good idea. On a totally different note, this one I'm interested. I didn't get a chance to view the videos that are at the site, but you talk about never missing incoming leads with using chatbots. So I'm definitely love software. Obviously, it's one of the things that we do, and it's our bread and butter. So I'm very intrigued by bots, and been studying and watching bots for a long time now.
Well, I actually heard about this tool. It's a Canadian tool from the Saskatchewan Association of Realtors. So that's up in Canada where it's very cold. But what a chatbot is, it's an artificial intelligence application. And there are a lot of them out there right now. There's 5 or 6, big ones that I'm aware of, but they can be, sometimes they're as much as $1,000 a month. Well, this particular chatbot, Emery, IMRE.ca, that's for Canada, IM as in Mary, RE.ca, Emery, and look at the video with the picture of the couple sitting on there that explains what it does. But essentially, say, Robert, like right now, you're sitting here, you're in a conversation with me, you cannot take an incoming call. But what the chatbot does is that, and they've had people who think this thing is a real person. That's how good it is. But it will qualify the lead for you. And as soon as they, they text in, your number, that's their phone number is sent to you. You've got instantaneous lead conversion right there. But then the chatbot qualifies what they want. So what price range? So it asks the questions, what would you, and it can, and then the thing that's beautiful about it, it sends you, I don't know if it's daily or weekly, but it sends you an update about where your leads came from, so that you're, are they coming off of Facebook? It just tracks all this stuff. And, they have a free version. The professional version is $10 a month. There's not a better deal in the market for this. You could literally pay thousands a month if you were looking at doing one of the most sophisticated ones. I do have a funny story for you just to share. They're one of the other chatbot founders, and I think their tool was maybe a couple hundred a month. I don't recall, but one day he told, he was telling his chatbot to quit. He typed the word in quiet, and the AI said, "If you want me to be quiet, turn down the volume."
That's really good.
That's what you're dealing with here. This is artificial intelligence voice, it is getting smarter all the time. And the longer these things are around, the smarter they get. So anyway, check out Emery. It's a really great resource.
Yeah, I'm going to check that one. Definitely, I know our development side has very much been watching the AI movement for a while. Early when we first started developing the software, we toyed with putting some AI into our stuff, but some of it back then wasn't good enough. So we wanted the real human interaction. It's definitely, a lot of those are there now. They're at that level, and so we're definitely monitoring and watching, and that's
Well, 10
That's
bucks
as
a
much as
month.
I
I
can
mean,
say
golly,
live.
that's cheap.
It is. That is super cheap for the ability to basically have an assistant, right? That's the way I think of it, is someone to be able to do, like you said, I could be on the call and a call is being pre-screened for me. So when I get off this call, I could already have it teed up, knowing what this person wants to talk about, knowing what they want to do. It's just leveraging technology today is massive. If you're not utilizing technology, you're totally missing out. Now I know all of you smart people that are following realestateinvestor.com's page obviously are using our technology. These are just the little components like that could just add another touch to what you're doing, which is super important today because it separates you and it gives you the ability to be on top of everything in this virtual world, always working, even when you're not working. You can go and enjoy life. That is a really cool one. Now, this next one, I don't know if it's a note about something you do, because we know Chris. I have a note here about becoming your own banker, and Chris
Oh, yeah.
Noggle.
If you haven't had him on the show, you need to. We
He was
actually,
just on a couple weeks ago. Yeah, Chris is awesome. Me and him
yeah,
spoke
yeah.
on.
So anyway, listen to that. We actually decided to pull the trigger on this strategy personally. So that's how much I believe in it. So if you haven't read, his book about the Millionaire Mystery, I don't remember the exact title, but that's something that, and if this idea that you can become your own banker is, it requires an entire shift in your mindset. So if you're buying a car, normally, I think Chris probably explained this, what happens, you get your money, you get a loan, or you get your money, you get the car dealer, you get the car, that's done. But what Chris's model lets you do is recapture that money from inside a whole life insurance policy. And this is not like, the emphasis is not on how much you're going to get when you die. The emphasis is that you can borrow against this thing. And when I was selling, when I was in Southern California, in Beverly Hills, Brentwood, Bel Air, I seen some of my clients do this, and I couldn't figure out how they could borrow against their insurance policy. And this is super high end. I thought you had to have like $3 million to play. You don't. Chris has unlocked it. So you want to listen to that video. That's huge, because what it can do, and what we're looking at in our case, the idea is that you want to, recycle and recapture what you put in. So what we're going to be doing on our car, got a new car coming, we're going to be, essentially you add the insurance policy in this, and then you can charge yourself interest, but all the time, the money that you put in stays in the insurance policy. You can borrow from the insurance company for 5%, but your investment's there and it's compounding. Well, the secret is in the compound interest. And I don't know exactly how the numbers are going to work in our case, but the thing I was most intrigued by was being able to capture my company expenses and get, a huge percentage of those back. And again, it's going to vary from person to person and how they do this. This is algorithms at their highest level. I don't understand them, but I feel confident enough that we pulled the trigger, and I can't speak for anybody else. So
Chris is absolutely amazing. He definitely, and I agree, this is super high-end stuff. You definitely need someone to help you with it. But I can tell you, to give you a little bit more background. So we just did a show live, and anyone that's wondering, go look. Probably like a couple weeks ago, I want to say, was when we had Chris on live. Definitely a good friend and a couple masterminds together with him. He is brilliant, and I agree. He has unlocked this down to the simple level and accessible to everyone. I mean, even for those of you that are even interested in understanding what we're talking about, this is a game changer for your whole family and the rest and legacy of your life. I first stumbled across this before I even knew Chris talked about this stuff. I read another good book besides his was What the Rockefellers Do, by Garrett Peterson, I want to say his last name. It's or Gunderson maybe. And that's what it did. The book is explaining this whole becoming your own bank ties back all the way to the Rockefellers. And most people would at least know, if you know nothing other than the Rockefellers were pretty wealthy, and their money today, from what I recall from the book, is still paying out millions of dollars to over 100 different family members. That's from the money they made way back when. Now, if you're listening to that and saying, well, that just says I got to be rich like Rockefellers. No, because in the book, they even explain, I forgot the other family, it might have been the Rothschilds or someone like that back at the same time frame that had the same sort of wealth, and their wealth was gone within 2 generations from back then. So it like completely wiped out, where the Rockefellers' wealth, doing it in this structure, becoming your own bank, and there is a lot of structure within the right insurance policies to get and how to use them. They've transitioned where this money is still, and it's going to continue to pay out, because just as Bernice alluded to, it is essentially, instead of taking a loan out to go buy a car from the auto company, you're taking a loan out from yourself, buying the car and paying yourself back with the interest you're paying yourself. I mean, and compounding interest on the fact that it's invested inside of the insurance policy. And yeah, it's not about the death benefit, although there is a death benefit as well. But even if you didn't want to pay the loan back, that would just deduct off of that, which is some of the stuff we went into with Chris a couple weeks ago, into some of those details. So it's very intriguing. If you, and you don't need millions of dollars to be able to do this. I want to say he broke it down to, like, if you have hundreds a month, there's a way to do this, even thousands a month. I don't remember the exact number, but he gave a math formula in our live where he literally said, if you just take your income times this, if you have this much to work with, you can start developing a plan. And I will tell you, is a very small amount of money. So even if you have any amount of money that you're saving, this is definitely a better way to save your money in order to plan for what you're going to be doing in the future. The next thing I wanted to talk about is you talking about this one's a little intriguing because there's a tally that you put on here. So it's red X for leads. So very familiar with scrubbing against the do not call list, and I understand geo listings, but you tie it in with geo fencing around the listing. So I'm intrigued to hear a little bit more about that, if you would tell us a little bit about
Red X has been in the FSBO and for sale by owner, for sale by owner and expired listing lead generation business for 15 years, and they are the most used and the best quality company that does this for agents. So the agents are using this. So they put together they put together do not call list, but there are two parts of what their service is that would be great for your listeners. Number one, they have a new tool called Vortex. And you don't have to subscribe to the for sale by owner or the expired listing part of their business to get at this. And if you do that, by the way, you need to know every agent under the shining sun is probably going after those from, and they've got their triple dial, their triple line dialers and all this stuff that they provide. But the Vortex product is what they call a geofencing product. So assume that I've got a listing or I've got a property and I want to know who the neighbors are. And you have to keep in mind, 1 out of every 10 of those people is going to move in the next year. Okay. So if you put a geofence around this, in other words, you just say, okay, I'm going to go in Vortex and I want 100 names that are around my property here. Well, there are 10 leads in there for sure. So now there's a tool that I've come across that is still pretty, it's not early on development, it's actually pretty sophisticated, but I think it's probably the best tool for predicting who is going to sell. It's called likely.ai. And that's, again, likely.ai. And that is going to be, it's going to be several $100s a month, but it is another AI application. And their algorithm, I think, is converting around 30% for the next 90 to 180 days on who's selling. So that's, a really good way to target. So you could put that with the Red X product with the geofencing to, specifically go after those people. But the other service, your people really, and my partner, Greg McDaniel, who we do real estate coach on Sensor together, that's paired with my M column each week, and it's also standalone on YouTube. But what Greg does, he's in the San Francisco Bay Area market. He's been doing for rent by owners using the Red X tool, and he is having phenomenal success, especially with his investment clients. So what happens is, the agents don't want to go after the rentals. They don't. But if you go after the rent by owners, you've got somebody who is an investor who may have other properties who's, they've taken their depreciation, they're interested in doing a 1031 exchange or whatever that may be. And this is a great resource. So you can get these people scrubbed against the do not call list. And, it lets you specifically target, and it doesn't have to be around your listing. You say, hey, I want to try this here and I want, leads for this particular area. That's, choose a property in that area and ask, go for the leads around that. Again, that's their Vortex tool at RedX.
Yeah, that's very intriguing. That's interesting too. I love targeting rental properties. I know agents don't, which is great because we love when they bring us those leads because they don't like to work with them. One of the biggest deals I ever did was an agency that doesn't deal well with landlord owners and brought us a deal, and we moved 17 houses all at once for them. Because that is my bread and butter for our business, at least on the real estate side.
Well, Robert, while we're on the topic of targeted leads, there's another place that you can get highly targeted leads. It's your title companies, and it's called REI Source. Again, that's reisource.com, and they're a list company, and you can say like 5 to 10 cents, per name, but you're getting the title company information on this, so the contact information will be good, or as good as it can be. But say for example, they monitor all kinds of things. You could, say I want to get leads on people who make $100,000 a year that live in a 2-bedroom apartment that are expecting their 3rd baby, so, or who subscribe to a begging magazine and they're in a rental or, but they're making this kind of money. So you can put together targeted list. Apparently, a couple of great lists to have are to target people who are, I'm trying to remember what the NAR numbers were on this. I'd have to look at the chart, but I think it's homeowners under the age of 25 who are moving every 3 to 5, they're doing their second deal in 3 to 5 years in many cases. And those over 75 that have got over a 20% chance of selling in any given year. So just age-wise, they're high probability that their property is going to be on the market, but you can target that. And by the way, if you have the person's name, there's something called truepeoplesearch.com. Again, it's truepeoplesearch.com. Robert, if you haven't checked this out, this thing is scary. Just Google, put your own name into it, and you're going to, it's like they had my ex and the family members and people connected to him. And I was like, holy smokes, and a whole lot of stuff. It's just like, so that's true.
I've done that before on myself. And I was blown away by, wow, how far back and how many connections are you going to bring together here? I don't even remember that, but yep, I was related to that person or tied to that person in some way. The targeted list.
What's really great about this is you can get, it gives you home numbers and mobile numbers, and you're not having to pay for it. So if you've got a name, and you can get the owner's name from the title company. In most states, that's golden, and again, it's free.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great share for all of you trying to look for the phone numbers and skip trace and do all that. Is obviously the smart move is to do whatever you can for free first, because overall that lowers all your expenses. Even if you're willing to pay for it, I'd be willing to get it for free first, especially if it's the right contact number before I go and spend money that I don't need to spend. That's just, but you could take that and invest it into your insurance policies to create yourself a bank. So smart.
I like the way you think.
I love the RedX and the Vortex and the REI Source though, because we do go after rental landlords. So that's a pretty cool little trick that we're going to have to add to what we do. That's one of the things that we teach is going after and calling all of the 4 rentals in an area for investors, because we know that you're calling another investor. They own property and you got their number for free because it's a rental listing. So the number is good because they want to rent the property. And what you're going to find is either a landlord who wants to buy more properties and add to his portfolio, or a landlord who does not actually want to be a landlord anymore or has that property or other properties to get rid of. So lots of opportunities when you just I say networking and relationship building is one of the biggest things you can ever do, and utilizing all these sources to do that, right? Find what you can add value to, find how you can help someone solve a problem. That's really all we are, is problem solvers. And in doing such, it opens the door to all kinds of opportunities. So there's another thing that you put on here, which is really good for our flippers and anyone looking, and of course, any agents. We have some agents that work with us as well. So anybody, this Box Brownie and iScape, I'm pretty intrigued on, because this is all moving into the virtual world of stuff that's coming out, or been here, and most people just weren't aware of what's accessible to them virtually. So I'd love to hear more about that.
If you'll let me share my screen, I have a PowerPoint that actually has some of this on it. So I'll take us just a moment to set this up. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. If you can share your screen. If not, we'll have Manish push something, or I can, to make it available. But I think this should be
it looks like I can. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can bring this up.
And again, for those of you waiting,
it's not letting me share. So
I might have to.
So yeah, so I don't know what the problem is, but it's not letting me share.
Let me see if I. You got it? Oops, I'm in the wrong place.
Okay, so
you want to try now?
Oh, there we go. Now you should be able to.
Okay, let me try it again. Let me bring my PowerPoint back up. Just give me a moment here to.
Problem. Just had to make you a co-host.
No, it's not coming up here. Hang on a second. It's not. It's. Let me see if it's going. For some reason, it's still not coming up properly here where I can get it. So let's not waste a whole lot of time with this. So I'll try it one more time. Let me.
Did you see the share button?
It was coming up beforehand a second. So let me try it one more time. You know, the vagaries of Zoom, it is what it is.
Yes,
okay.
There's the beauty and the who knows.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay, who can share? Okay. Okay, great. Okay, it's checked now. So it should let me do this. So I need to bring this screen up on my screen. Okay. And let me see if it's going to behave right now. It's always a mystery. Yep, this should be good. Are you seeing my PowerPoint slide?
I am. Yep. Landscape design apps, iScape.
Okay. Perfect. So anyway, so this first one is iScape, and this is an app that's available both on Google and on Apple. So you can see here, this will let you take an area that looks like this, and then you can literally design what you want that landscaping to be. And you can see here, you can just, decide on the pavers. I can decide what kinds of flowers I want. Do I want a big tree in here? So this lets me, essentially go through and create, what I want to do. And the thing that's really great, especially as we go into winter and everything's covered with snow and, many places, this is something that you can use that is a tremendous tool. Now, I want to say, I love Box Brownie. This is an Australian company. And I'm just going to show you the before and after pictures. So one of the things that's great about this, say you have somebody who wants a really contemporary look, and maybe somebody else who wants a more traditional look, you can change how the property is staged. So here one of the things, of course, if you're flipping a house, it's probably empty, but now you can show what it would look like. And here's an example of a property that's been staged virtually. It looks pretty real. And then again, here you can see is another example of, okay, you've got this empty looking space, but now you've got down here, in the lower right-hand corner, you notice how it, everything is set off. It just looks so much more inviting and it's infinitely more saleable. Now, for those of you who like taking on big products, here is the before virtual renovation. So I know there was a trend. I don't know if it's so hot right now, but in the luxury market, a lot of people were buying spaces like this so that they could just do the build out the way they wanted.
Wow.
Or you see this next one, difference between night and day. You know, you can say, well, I'm fishing a pool here, but look at this.
Yeah, that is pretty amazing.
Yeah. And then one of the things, you know, depending where you are, sometimes the pictures are just lousy and there's nothing you can do about it. And, you know, they do these for, you know, I don't know if this particular image enhancement's $4 or $8 a piece. You know, it's not terribly expensive. Some of the, like the virtual renovation things are more expensive, but again, cheaper than, you know, it's really a great way, and you don't have to buy furniture or anything else. And you can envision what you're doing when you do your, you know, when you actually do, before you build it out, you can envision what it's going to be. And then you can see here too, a lot of times I'll have listing photos that look like this versus this one right here, which is so much, you know, so much better. Now,
Yeah.
yeah, one of the things they also do, this is really, you know, if you have a listing that hasn't sold and, you know, you've got a price reduction, make the photos look different. And you can do this with this day to dusk. And by the way, this is very, very popular right now with buyers. They like seeing this. Again, you can see daytime, but the dusk photos are so spectacular with, you know,
Yeah,
and, you know, what's there not to like? And then there's this problem, item removal.
yep.
So, you know, this is Box Brownie, and you know, I think it's a terrific tool. Again, it's Box Brownie, and they're based out of Australia, but they're, you know, just, I think it's a great tool to use, you know, in terms of marketing your properties, and again, giving them a different look or making them look as good as they can.
Yeah, I love that tool. That last item would have been so helpful a few years ago when we used to have to send someone back out because, man, there was just way too much stuff that the people had in their kitchen, and we can't actually tell what any of the counter space looks like. That would have been hands down a time saver. That would have been worth the whole investment of whatever Box Brownie costs, just to not have to go back and make multiple trips to the house to and ask people to move their stuff. And you know, you're going to be okay if we just move all that out of the way into another room maybe. And a lot easier if I could just do it through an application. So
By the way, one of the things, just some things that may help your, you know, may help any of the people out there who are dealing with staging issues. You know, one of the things to say to the owners, you know, I remember this stopped me kind of dead in my tracks when I have always hired somebody to represent me when I'm selling my house, because I have no business negotiating for myself, and I want somebody who's as tough as I am. And I got, you know, I've gotten that twice. But anyway, the first one that I, you know, the one I hired a house before last, she looked at me, she says, "Bernice, it's not your house anymore." And it's like, you need to get, you know, get past this idea that the, you know, the sellers, this is my castle. So you want to, you know, say, you're going to have to pack this up anyway. Why not get a head start, you know?
yep,
But this
that's
is a great, Box Brownie is a great tool when, you know, and sometimes you've got someone who's just not capable, or, you know, you got somebody who's kind of in a hoarding place. There's,
mm-hmm.
you know, this is a way to deal with it. I mean, I love what technology lets us do today that we couldn't do even a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And some of those virtual renovations are just like, wow. I mean, it looked like it was completely renovated. And I know it's not, but that gives you the ability to show what's possible. Some people have a harder time visualizing what's there, right? Visionary type people don't, and creative mindsets, that they see that without that. But that is so helpful because the majority don't, right? And the majority need to like visually be able to really see that. And that's so helpful to be able to say, look, this is what you can make. What else do you want to make it look like? Here you go. And it's a great staging tool. I love that you put it on there for that, but I can also see it as a great tool to just help you show what people could do with something, which would further help you get them into a property that may actually be a good fit for them. They just can't see what's possible until it's done. And you have the ability to show them before you spend a dollar. That's pretty amazing tool. Some really great shares today. everyone should go back and watch everything in here, because there's definitely something for somebody. Probably a few different nuggets for you depending on what it is you do in here. I'm going to go and just see if it didn't look like we had any questions, but we're tracking, so we're going to be, for anything that's been mentioned on today, by the way, there will be, we will put all of these links to all these different resources down in our comments if we haven't already, not on Facebook Live, but we may have already put them there. If not, they will be there and the team will put them there. If anyone
I have
has
one
any,
more thing for your listeners today that I didn't give you on my list.
yeah, please.
Robert, have you talked about opportunity zones in the past with your?
No, we have not. I'm intrigued to hear whatever you got to say about it. It's a topic I don't know enough about, and I know I
Okay,
should.
well, I don't know a whole lot about it.
Okay.
I host an annual women's conference every year for women in leadership, and it's for the very top tier, C-suite, and
Yeah.
broker owners and stuff. But Tammy Bonnell is the CEO of Exit Realty, and she talked about opportunity zones. And I know I took a look at these, and these are zones that. And I don't know if they got started prior to the current administration or not. I don't recall, but they're economically challenged parts of different cities and stuff. But what's happening is the federal government is putting money into these areas to get them developed. So if you're, and I don't know if Detroit's one or not, but if you think of that particular area where got a lot of boarded up homes and everything, and they're trying to drive business into these areas and getting people to renovate homes in these areas. And what's interesting is there are circumstances tied to this where when, I think if the way I read what was, and I don't recall the exact details, but I believe if you kept the property for 5 or 10 years, that there was no income tax, impact, no capital gains.
Yep.
That you had
I
to
know
pay.
it's very
And
interesting. I've only heard a little bit myself, but I have some friends that do invest in nothing but opportunity zones. So I know there's massive opportunities there.
massive tax benefits from the day that you walk into the opportunity to the day you sell. The long-term capital gains are one of them, but you are getting incentives every which way and sideways for doing this. So this is something to take a look at, investigate it for your own account. But
Yeah.
I have to say, Tammy was talking about a lot of their investor clients are doing this, and they're encouraging their agents and their clients to take advantage of these. And some, a lot of these areas are, the areas are okay. You just need to find which parts of them that you can invest in. And again, if you're investing in an up and coming area, you do a rent to own thing or something. I mean, there are a lot of really interesting things you could do with this. So.
Yeah, and you can tie it back to some of the resources we mentioned earlier, like the down payment resource for the topic you just mentioned. I mean, there's so many different ways the whole point of us coming on here live and bringing great guests like Bernice is to give you so much valuable information that there's just different ways you can take that and utilize that where you're at in your market. Opportunity zones definitely. If you guys would love to hear more about that, let us know, and we'll actually go find someone that specializes in opportunity zones, because it's definitely a topic I want to learn more about, because I know they're all around us. I've seen people talk about it. I've seen people do it. I know there's massive benefits, but I haven't spent the time myself to do the diligence to go find out which ones and how to work them the best. And, of course, all opportunities like that have some paperwork that are involved and the right things you have to do to qualify. But nonetheless, if you learn those, and almost always it's something simple, another piece of paper to file, or one extra thing and you qualify kind of thing, or hold it for so many years and it's going to be tax-free, basically. Lots of different things like that. So I'm just double checking. I don't see any live questions that came in, so that's cool. Probably a lot to absorb and take in for everyone here. But again, anyone that's watching this on the replay afterwards, absolutely comment below, ask any follow-up questions. If you go and check out one of the resources that we linked below and then you have some follow-up questions, now, if we can answer it, we'll answer it. We'll definitely work with you to go get the answers. If they're specific to those resources when you're on their page, you may want to ask that page, for specific details on their stuff. Just little tidbit.
Yeah, let me say one thing here, right here, Robert. Forgive me for interrupting. My partner, Greg McDowell, and I on Real Estate Coach Uncensored interviewed Rob Crane, who's the founder of down payment resource, we have a 45-minute interview with him where he discusses how that works in detail. So that's on it's on YouTube on Real Estate Coach Uncensored. Again, Real Estate Coach Uncensored on YouTube, and just you can, it's right there. We've only been doing this for, several months over there. So it's really easy to find. It's one that's had the most listens, of anything that we've done far and away. And it will continue to garner listener after listener because it's such a great tool. So that's a place you can get a lot more information about how the service works.
Awesome. Well, that's great. And besides so there's a YouTube channel you can go check out and learn more about what Bernice is doing and some of the information that she's shared. She's interviewed some people on it, so you can get even more detail on those specific things. How would it be best for someone to reach out to you if they wanted to learn more about what you do or any help with the coaching that you offer and things like that, Bernice?
Bernice, BERNICE at realestatecoach.com. Wish I had trademarked that URL back in 1996. It would have been worth, it would have really, nobody else would be real estate coaching, but anyway, it's Bernice at realestatecoach.com. And
that is a great URL.
Our strength is actually, Robert, what happens with us. I thought everybody would want coaching, but 90 to 95% of what people are looking for is training. And we have the best new agent, experienced agent training in the industry. Our new agent programs have been adopted by the California Association of Realtors. I oversaw the creation of Camp 443 for Gary Keller at Keller Williams. That is their new agent sales training. I worked with Gary directly there. So had a chance to, be with that organization for 6 months and working with him to get that up and running. They're still using a bunch of that stuff that I did back in 2004. So check out the 2020 and 2021 versions of our products because they've got the kind of tools that we're talking about right here, and I explain them in a little bit more detail.
That's awesome. So thanks again, Bernice, for coming on and sharing so much valuable information. And everyone, go check out Bernice's channel on YouTube and get more information if you're interested in it. And you can subscribe to her channel so that you get alerted for anything else. And then also, if you want to work with Bernice directly, as she said, she has some great programs for coaching and training new agents and getting everything that you need in today's world to be successful. So go check out Bernice at her non-trademarked realestatecoach.com.
Wish I trademarked it, but
got
the URL, that's all that matters. Thank you. And everybody, thank you for watching today. Have a great day.
Awesome. Thank you, Bernice. Bye now, everyone.